This is the coursework submission for Ben Mallinger for the real-time graphics in C++ design. So the first part is DirectX framework, which I've just opened up the DirectX initialization thing just to show that if that proves it. The terrain, which has been done with instanced cubes. The rocket, well, it's fairly basic, it's just a cone on top of a cylinder with textures, as you'd expect. The launcher is obviously just this this stick, so I'll press the F11 key and we'll see the rocket go up and then come back down in an arc and explode at the other end. Right, the particle system from the rocket firing. There's just a fire and which dissipates quite quickly, and then a smoke. The explosion particle system is just one particle system, fairly similar to the fire, but going out in a globe rather than just out the back. Lighting, so we got the sun there, which casts one of the shadows, and then the moon rises here, which also casts shadows. The shadows are more subtle than the moon because the light's not as intense. I've made the there you see the shadows there. I've made the moon slightly faster, so eventually you'll get the moon going in front of the sun, and then you actually get a nice shadow of the moon on the landscape. Just because I could. There is lighting from the back of the engine, which you might have already seen. You can see there. That obviously doesn't cast shadows because that wasn't in the spec. And there is also lighting from the explosion you'll see inside this crater. Shadows, as I showed, I have attempted to implement PCF. Hasn't worked out as well as I would like, but I think you can see that I have attempted PCF. Cameras, so I've got F1, which is the one at the start, which looks at the thing, the rocket. F2, which I've just moved out of position, so I've got F3, which follows the rocket as it flies through the air. There's the camera looking at the cone. Obviously I haven't done any reflections on the cone, so it's just looking at the cone, and F5's just looking at the body. For camera controls I use WASD, and the so just turning with WASD, standard hold control to pan, and page up, page down to elevate and de-elevate. R resets, as you can see the train's back. F6 switch between render modes, so now we're in wireframe. Now we're in rendered without any color texture. I've still got the normal mapping. Next F6 is just diffuse color, so without any specular lighting or shadows. Oh yeah, this is, sorry, I was trying to remember what this was. This is the first of the G buffers in deferred rendering, so this is just the textures. You'll see the sun and moon aren't in this because they're not rendered to the G buffers because they're not lit. World position, G buffer, the normal maps, and position in relation to camera. I also implemented a form of toon shader at the end, so I can quickly show you the config file as well. If I just close this. Yeah, okay, so I've got the parameter name and then the value of the parameter. So if I just change it down to 10 by 10 and then make it very tall, you'll see that's reflected. Quickly I'll just show you, you can turn the rocket. On to advanced features. As I said, I implemented a form of toon shader, normal mapping, so yeah, you can just see about there. Environment mapping I didn't do. Advanced shadow mapping, I mean, I think PCF is included under that. Volume shadows I didn't do, HUD I didn't do. I've done some AntTweakbar features, so things just like fairly simple things like, you know, speeding up the time. Deferred rendering, I have used deferred rendering with these G buffers. I didn't do HDR. I left in the shadow maps from the sun and moon just because I quite like them. They're not trying to contribute to any soft marks. Yes, that's it, I think. Thanks.